Guys, this video is a very long video. It involves detailed comparison of various features, so timestamps to various sections are given in the description. It took a long time to make, so a like and a sub would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hi guys, what's up? My name is Diptesh. Welcome back to my channel Diptesh Loves Tech. So guys, before beginning this video, let me tell you, I want to build my Instagram account and I am a hobbyist photographer. So guys, if you like photography as well as you like this channel, then go ahead and follow me on Instagram at @allstardeep. And you can also direct message me on Instagram if you have any doubt regarding any of my videos. I'm always there for you to clarify all your doubts. And guys, if you're new to the channel, then definitely hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Alright guys, so without any further ado, let's start the video. So guys, I've been looking forward to actually upgrading my current camera, which is a very old Canon 1200D, and I have a budget of around 50,000 rupees. So I was wondering which camera can I purchase in this budget. So as an Indian, I was actually mostly familiar with Canon and Nikon entry-level DSLR cameras. However, delving into YouTube and researching for the past couple of months, I have found out a lot more about cameras. I am a lot more knowledgeable about cameras right now. I have discovered a lot more brands, for example, Sony, Panasonic, Olympus, Fujifilm. And coincidentally, I actually found in the comment section of those YouTube videos, many Indians actually commenting and asking for suggestions about which is the best photo video shooting hybrid camera that they can purchase below 50,000 rupees to shoot YouTube videos or to click photos as a hobby. So at the end, I myself decided to actually do a lot of research and objective comparisons for months to actually find out which camera is actually perfect for the job. And after a lot of research guys, I have finally picked up two cameras that fit the job and will mostly suffice most of my priorities and most of your priorities. And those two cameras, if you have already read the title, you already know about it. Number one, it's the Canon M50, and number two is the Panasonic Lumix G85. Now guys, this comparison may be a little more lengthy than my regular videos, or it's probably going to be a bit lengthy because I'm going to do a very in-depth objective comparison between these two cameras in a very detailed way. So if you want to actually go to a particular section of this comparison, then you can go into the description. I have given timestamps to various sections of the video. You can click those timestamps and jump directly into that section. So guys, let me tell you, this comparison will actually definitely have a winner at the end. So stick around till the end to know and get the whole idea. Alright guys, so before starting this comparison, I chose these two cameras on the basis of certain priorities, and these priorities are as follows. Number one, image quality at 4K as well as 1080p. Now most of the comparisons I've seen online actually focus more on 4K, which is right, because 4K is the new 1080p, you can say. But as a person who generally edits 1080p videos, and my laptop, which is this one, is more capable of editing 1080p videos than 4K videos. So 1080p is a big priority for me. I need very good and clean looking 1080p output, as well as I need clean looking 4K output. Second priority is the camera should definitely have a fully articulating display. Yes, a fully articulating display is very important. Basically, when you're a one-man band, you do not have a monitor, you need something to look at yourself, whether you're framed correctly or not. So for these reasons, and fully articulating display, and if that display has touchscreen, that's even better, but it should have a fully articulating display. Third, it should have usable autofocus, continuous autofocus at 1080p at least. For me, I am 100% always used to manual focus. I always manual focus even for photos as well as for videos. So any kind of continuous autofocus is good autofocus for me. But taking you guys into consideration, the camera should have at least usable continuous autofocus in 1080p. Guys, the fourth priority is the camera should have a mic jack. In the online video publishing world, the video is actually compressed quite a lot, even in YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So image quality takes a big hit, but the audio quality is actually very important, and audio quality can really improve the video quality by a lot. So the camera must have an audio jack, and it should have good preamps. Fifth point, the camera should have a good form of stabilization, whether it is electronic image stabilization, whether it is really good lens stabilization, or it can have in-body image stabilization. Guys, when vlogging, when you're walking, I don't want to carry a gimbal with me because gimbal adds weight. It's more expensive, it adds weight, it attracts a lot more attention. So I don't want to use a gimbal. I want good handheld video, whether it is electronic image stabilization or it is in-body image stabilizations. I don't care, it should have good stabilization. And the fifth priority is that the camera should be able to take good looking images, at least to share on social media, that is Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. And it should have good enough dynamic range. So guys, let's kick off the comparison with the first category, that is image quality at 1080p as well as at 4K. So right off the bat, let me tell you guys, the Panasonic G85 and the Canon M50 both have two different kind of image sensors. So the Canon M50 has a 24 megapixel APS-C sized sensor, whereas the Panasonic Lumix G85 has a 16 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. So the micro four thirds sensor has a 2x crop factor. So whichever lens you put on the G85 has a 2 times crop, equivalent to a full frame sensor, whereas the Canon M50 has a 1.6 times crop factor. So any lens you put on the Canon M50 has to be multiplied by 1.6 times. That is, the focal length has to be multiplied by 1.6. Alright guys, so you might actually think that since the Canon M50 has an APS-C sensor which is a little bit bigger, so automatically the image quality comparison should go to the M50, right? Wrong. Let me clarify. So the Canon M50 has a 1.6 times crop, which is a bit tighter because generally the APS-C cameras have a 1.5 times crop, but the Canon M50 has a 1.6 time crop. On top of that, it has 24 megapixel, which means the pixel sizes are actually smaller compared to the 16 megapixel sensor on the G85, which is a micro four thirds sensor. So when you compare the two sensors, the pixel sizes of both the sensors, they are roughly equivalent. Now when you jump into image quality comparisons at 1080p, if you go ahead and use DP Review's video stills comparison tool, you will find out that the Panasonic G85 has a better 1080p image quality. As you can see, the image in the Panasonic G85 has crisper lines and it looks quite frankly crisper. If you go ahead and watch hybrid shooters comparison between the Sony a6400, which is a 75,000 rupees camera, the Canon M50 and the Panasonic G85, you will see that the Sony a6400 has a better 1080p image quality than the Canon M50. And the Panasonic G85 actually has better image quality than the Sony a6400 at 1080p. So 1080p image quality is a victory to the Panasonic. Now we will actually get into ISO comparisons, video ISO comparisons a little later. Before that, let's discuss 4K. Now guys, the Canon M50 was actually the first Canon mirrorless camera that featured 4K, but it was severely crippled by Canon. Canon cripples their cameras. So the Canon M50, when shooting 4K, has a total crop factor of 2.54 times, which makes it even smaller than the Panasonic G85's micro four thirds sensor. And on top of that, since the Canon cannot do full sensor 4K, it actually does some kind of line skipping to do the 4K. As a result, the 4K image quality from the Canon M50 is very soft. In fact, it is almost indistinguishable from the 1080p quality. And also, during 4K, Canon's famous dual pixel autofocus is turned off. So overall, if you actually purchase the Canon M50, I would recommend you not to shoot in 4K because it's quite frankly, it's useless. Totally the opposite case for the Panasonic G85. The G85 does full sensor 4K, which is very clean. If you see some samples from DP Review comparison, here are some of the comparisons. You can see the G85 has such a clean, good looking, sharp 4K image quality at 100 Mbps. That's the bitrate. Whereas the Canon M50 has a bitrate of about 70 megabits per second, if I'm not wrong. So overall, the 4K image quality is much crisp and detailed with the Panasonic G85. Of course, Panasonic is actually known for the video quality. It has actually a picture profile called Cine D, which allows you to get more dynamic range. As you can see in this example, the G85 using the Cine D profile gives you more dynamic range. Such a profile does not exist with the Canon M50. Now guys, let's compare high ISO performance from both these cameras. Now here's a comparison done by Michael Turner, a YouTuber. He compared the high ISO performance between the Canon M50 and the Panasonic G85. Now as you can see, as he raises the ISO, the Panasonic G85 just clearly outshines the Canon M50 in terms of high ISO performance. You can see the Canon M50 has quite a bit of grain from ISO 1600, whereas the Panasonic G85 has usable image quality up to 3200 ISO. So guys, in terms of 1080p and 4K, as well as in terms of high ISO performance, I think the Panasonic G85 clearly takes a cake. Okay, now the second point was about the fully articulating display. So guys, thankfully, both the Canon M50 and the Panasonic G85 both have fully featured, fully functional, fully articulating displays, which can face yourself and you can see yourself in the frame. Both the screens are fully touch enabled, that is, you can even use the menus with touch, and it also has touch to focus functionality. And both Canon and Panasonic are well known for their well laid out user friendly menus. So thumbs up to both Panasonic and Canon. Now the fourth point is about mic jack. Now both the Canon M50 as well as the G85 both have 3.5mm microphone inputs, but let me tell you, Panasonic and Sony are two brands which are actually known for their very good quality preamps, and the G85 is no different. The Panasonic G85 actually has very good preamps. If you actually see Everyday Dad's video, he'll say in his video how good the preamps of Panasonic is. If you watch DP Reviews Jordan Drake, you'll see that Jordan never plugs his microphone directly into any camera if it's not a Panasonic. So Panasonic G85 has the better preamps, but both of these have microphone jacks, which is a plus. Alright guys, so the next point is very interesting because it's about continuous autofocus. Now guys, while clicking photos, the Panasonic and the Canon both have really reliable single point autofocus. So in terms of photography, both of these will suffice you, no problem whatsoever. But in terms of 1080p video, I would give the win to the Canon M50 because the Canon M50 has Canon's famous dual pixel hybrid autofocus. It is quite reliable, very smooth. So in terms of 1080p video, I'd give the autofocus victory to the Canon. However, it's not that the Panasonic is totally unusable in 1080p autofocus. In fact, the Panasonic is quite usable in 1080p. However, to somewhat mitigate the comparatively poor autofocus of Panasonic, it actually packs a lot of good features. Basically, the G85 has a type of semi-autofocus mode, which you can see in more details in Everyday Dad's video. So basically, the G85 has some sort of semi-autofocus mode where you can set the camera into manual focus mode, but at the same time, you can actually use touch to focus on yourself. You can use tap to focus on the screen, or the Panasonic actually comes with a very good smartphone app which lets you control the entire camera. Almost all the features of the camera can be controlled using the smartphone app without touching the camera at all. So even though Canon has the better autofocus in 1080p, it objectively has the better autofocus in 1080p, but the Panasonic is not far behind. Okay guys, now the next topic is the image experience, that is clicking photos. In terms of images, the resolution is more with the Canon and it is a bit less with the Panasonic, but in social media, Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, 16 megapixel versus 24 megapixel is not a big deal. In fact, 5 megapixel is enough for social media. In terms of dynamic range, Hybrid Shooter said that both the Canon M50 and the G85 have decent dynamic range. In fact, it's quite usable for social media. Once again, not as good as full frame sensors, but definitely enough. Okay, now let's compare both the cameras in DP Reviews lab tests. So guys, in terms of ISO performance, first let's talk about JPEG performance. Surprise, surprise. If you go into DP Reviews lab comparisons, you can see that in terms of JPEG performance, the G85 actually trumps the Canon M50 in terms of noise. You can see even at higher ISOs, about 1600, 3200, 6400, the G85 just continues to outshine the M50. So if you shoot JPEG images, I think both the cameras are quite enough. It's not a big difference, but it's surprising to see that this Micro Four Thirds sensor is actually keeping up with this Canon's APS-C sensor. However, where the Canon M50 trumps the G85 is in RAW performance. So guys, the G85 has a Micro Four Thirds sensor, so it does have some limitations. In terms of high ISO performance in RAW, you can see the G85 falls slightly behind when it comes to ISO 3200 and 6400. I feel that at higher ISO, the Canon M50 pulls slightly ahead. You can see the noise in the Canon is more fine compared to the G85, which looks a bit blotchy. So in terms of high ISO performance in RAW, I would say the Canon M50 pulls ahead. But here comes the final point, which absolutely seals the deal for the G85, is in-body image stabilization. So guys, I already mentioned one of the priorities for buying this cameras are image stabilizations. However, the G85 comes with an absolutely killer feature in this price tag, that is in-body image stabilization. So basically guys, the sensor inside the G85 actually moves to compensate for your handshake. Now this image stabilization benefits both images as well as videos. Now image stabilization is actually rated at 5.5 stops when you use compatible lenses with the G85, the lenses which have image stabilization in the lens as well as in the body. So both of them combine to form dual IS, whereas the Canon M50 has electronic image stabilization. Now guys, remember I said you about high ISO performance in RAW. With the G85, you actually do not have to go up to 6400 ISO. Because the G85 has such good image stabilization, in-body image stabilization, you can actually shoot at quite lower shutter speed. So in situations where you have to push the Canon to ISO 6400, you can actually stay at 1600 or 3200 with the G85 just by lowering the shutter speed, because the G85 has no problem shooting at 1/5 of a second, even at half a second. So that's a big win for the G85 in terms of image stabilization. And in videos guys, there is no comparison. Michael Turner has already done a comparison in terms of video stabilization, as well as Hybrid Shooter, who has done an in-body image stabilization comparison between the G85 and the Sony a6500, and you can see the G85 is just clearly the superior camera when it comes to in-body image stabilization. The image is quite smooth, it's almost usable if you walk handheld. So guys, in terms of image stabilization, the G85 is just the clear winner. There is no two ways about it. So guys, at the end of the photo comparison, I must say that if you are purchasing this camera solely to take photos, that is to mainly take photos and less videos, then I think I should say that stick to the Canon M50. I think in terms of image quality in photos, I think the Canon just outshines the G85 by a hair. However guys, for me, I think the G85 just won this comparison. It has better image quality in 1080p as well as 4K. It has better microphone quality, and the autofocus is quite usable. It has in-body image stabilization, which is a huge plus for me because it will let me take handheld stabilized video when I walk. In fact, whatever lens you put on the G85 will be stabilized because the camera itself has stabilization inbuilt, which is not the case for the M50 and for any Canon camera. Actually, no Canon camera has in-body image stabilization. So in terms of all these features, I think the G85 just wins it for me. And here are some bonus features of the G85, let me tell you. The G85 is a different beast when it comes to lens options. There are so many micro four thirds, high quality micro four thirds lenses available for the Canon, for the G85. In fact, since it is a micro four thirds sensor, you can actually adapt almost any lenses from any manufacturer with the help of different adapters. And also the Panasonic's native lenses are very affordable and very high quality. You can buy the 25mm f1.7 for 13,000 rupees. You can purchase the 50 to 150 zoom, kit zoom, for around 11,000 rupees. Then there is the 15mm f1.4 from Leica. There's this there are so many more. There are also the Sigma lenses available. The Sigma lenses are actually recently been available for the EOS M mount too. That's quite beneficial. However, it has been available for the micro four thirds mount since a long time. Some other features of the G85 is that the G85 is completely weather sealed. So that's a huge bonus, especially if you go to mountains where the weather is quite foggy and it's a damp. The G85 is fully weather sealed. So in dusty regions, in regions of wet, I think the G85 is just the clear choice. In terms of battery life, the G85 once again is better than the Canon M50. In fact, the M50 has a very poor battery life. In fact, it has about 250 shots and whereas the G85 has around 330 shots, so the G85 is clearly better in terms of battery life. So guys, at the end of the comparison, I think the G85 is just, I think it's clearly the best camera below 50,000 rupees if you want to start a YouTube channel. In fact, the fact that many other YouTubers are still using the G85 to make videos just tells how good the G85 is. So overall guys, even though the Canon M50 is, in my opinion, the best Canon camera, or in fact the second best camera that you can purchase below 50,000 rupees if photography is your priority and video is a lesser priority to you. However, if you want a camera that can shoot that can mainly shoot video as well as provide good enough image quality in stills, I think the G85 is the best choice. It comes at a price tag of about 45,000 rupees, whereas the Canon M50 comes at a price tag of around 48,000 rupees. So I think the G85 is just the winner of this comparison. Alright guys, so as you can see, I'm at a different spot right now. So that means that's the end of the video. All the guys I mentioned in the video, their links are down below in the description. Their videos are linked in the description. You can go ahead and watch them for more detailed analysis. These guys are amazing. I myself have learned a lot from these guys. So you can go ahead and check the channels. And guys, all my social media links are down below, and so that you can follow me on Instagram. And if you're new to the channel, then definitely hit the subscribe button. I'm looking forward to getting to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And guys, I really hope that you like this video, because I'm planning to do these kind of talking head videos a lot more in the future. And guys, if you liked it, then hit the thumbs up button. If you did not like it, then hit the thumbs down button, so that I can know that this video is not working out. Comment down below about what you feel about this video, what you feel about my opinion. And as always, if you have any queries, comment down below. I'm always ready to clarify that. Also, you can direct message me on Instagram. I can solve your queries over there also. So that's it for this video guys. My name is Jpeg and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.